Thank you everyone for coming to this press announcement. This is an important both announcement and initiative by a lot of partners. I'm the Commissioner, I'm Stephen Parry, I'm the Commissioner of Public Safety for the City of Providence. As we announce an initiative to identify and try to remove guns, not only in Providence, but in this region, the key is going to be getting the message out to our communities so we can encourage people to turn in guns that are not being used and potentially will be landing on the streets. Let me introduce the mayor of the city of Providence, Jorge Elorza, who I've had the privilege to work for the past 6.5 years. And every single day, he and I communicate the safety issues in the city of Providence. There isn't a stronger leader and concern for public safety, whether it's guns, whether it's our children, anything public safety. This mayor has been constantly both interested in trying creative ways to reduce and prevent violence. So without further ado, Mayor Jorge Elorza. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. Before I get going, I want to acknowledge the terrible incident that happened this afternoon at the mall. Another young life lost to violence. We'll address any questions that folks may have about that towards the end, but it's just another reason why we need to continue to come together like this. Anything that we can do to get weapons off of the streets, anything that we can do to make it more difficult for violence to occur in our community are steps that we should take. So today we're taking a step working in conjunction with our partners throughout other parts of our state. I want to recognize Mayor Diossa from Central Falls. He and I have been speaking over the past couple of weeks about incidences in our community and just the general concern around public safety. And when we spoke, we were both of the opinion that it was vital, it was necessary to do something like this, to do whatever we can to get these guns off of the streets. So you're going to hear from Mayor Diossa in a second, but I appreciate your partnership in this, Mayor, and I look forward to partnering in many other ways going forward. I want to recognize my Commissioner of Public Safety. I meet and speak with him every single day. We go over everything that happened the previous night and we strategize going forward. I appreciate your strong leadership with your advice and counsel to make sure that we can continue to drive the numbers of violent crimes down. I want to thank our partners. We're also joined by the Chief of the Central Falls Police Department. Thank you so much for being here, Chief. Your presence speaks 1,000 words, and it's great to have you and welcome you here in our city. We're also joined by two councilmen, Councilman Nick Narducci, who you'll be hearing from in a second. He's a councilman in this ward, and Councilman Pedro Espinal. I appreciate your strong support for what we're doing in the city, and I appreciate your strong support for this initiative. It's also impossible to do this work without our community partners. We're blessed to have the Nonviolence Institute here in our city and here in our state that has been, I believe I can say, the most effective, the most important partner in public safety that our police department has ever had. So Cedric Huntley is the executive director, and we appreciate you. You're always on the spot and personally involved in reaching out to the community, so we thank you for that. And last but not least, I also want to thank one of our partners in this initiative, Scott Lapham from One Gun Gone, who has effectively made it his mission to take one gun off the streets at a time. And when you add these one guns at a time, over time it adds up, and it makes it so that these guns are not there to be used in violent crimes, and it keeps more of our kids alive. So thank you, Scott. I also want to recognize that this work could not be accomplished without the generosity of folks in our community. We've raised the funds to do this gun buyback from private philanthropy. First among those is a very, very generous contribution from Malcolm Chase of $25,000, where he stood up and offered this from his family's foundation. So on behalf of the residents of the city of Providence, I want to thank Malcolm Chase and his family foundation for their generosity in helping us get guns off the streets. Just as important is a contribution and a donation from One Gun Gone that came from Scott Lapham, a very generous contribution of $10,000 so that we can purchase the cash cards as incentive for people to hand in their guns. Thank you so much, Scott. Without you, there's only so far we can go, but with you, there's so much farther that we're going to go together. So I thank everyone for their kindness. I thank everyone for their partnership. Our city, our state, and our country, they continue to be racked by and to continue to respond to an ongoing public health crisis that continues as persistent today as it has for many years. Gun violence has long been identified as a public health issue by the American Public Health Association as a result of its devastating impact on our families and our communities. Crime associated with guns has had a disproportionate impact on America's youth, and gun violence is one of the most common deaths among individuals between 15 to 24 years of age. In Providence, we've been tackling these issues, and we've been doing it head-on by finding new ways to engage our youth. It truly takes a village to keep our streets safe, and Providence is standing together with our neighbors to stop gun violence. Whether that's summer jobs for our young kids, recreation opportunities, investing in organizations such as the Nonviolence Institute, or just being there to support our families and our kids, we need to address this from every angle, and that's exactly what we're doing. And one important part of the equation is this gun buyback program. Together with our neighbors in Central Falls, we're going to be hosting a gun buyback program at locations here in Providence and also in Central Falls on Saturday, October 17th. The Vinci Center, where we are today, will be one of the gun buyback sites from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. that Saturday. And anyone who would like to return a firearm can do so no matter the circumstances, no matter how you obtained it, without questions or consequences from authorities. We simply want to get these guns off of the streets so not a single one of them is used in another crime. To turn in your firearm, place your gun in a clear plastic bag and any ammunition that you have in a separate clear bag. Gun violence is a complicated problem, and it requires close collaboration with our neighbors and our community stakeholders. Our police department has fostered relationships with our community to maintain public safety for everyone throughout our city. And this gun buyback program is unquestionably going to reduce the number of secondhand firearms that makes it to our streets and that is used in crime. And it's just one of the many different efforts that we're engaging with the community to reduce violence in the city. Protecting the safety of our youth and our families who are disproportionately impacted by crime has been and remains our top priority. Working together, we are going to get guns off the streets, and we're going to bring greater safety to our community. It's also important to note the recent report that there was a mass quantity of guns, anywhere from mid-50 to mid-80 guns, that made their way onto the streets. These were through one purchaser who went around different gun shops throughout the state, purchased guns, reported them stolen, and was putting them out onto the streets, where he knew that they were going to be used as crime weapons. We have too many guns out there in the streets. We need comprehensive and common sense gun control. We need measures like this to get guns off of the streets. And we need the help of all of our partners to get the message out there that you don't have to turn to crime, that violence only begets more violence, and violence can never be the solution. Working together, we will put a dent on crime and bring safety and opportunity to all of our kids. Thank you, everyone, and I'll hand it back to Commissioner Parry.